is near. So let's get rid of the actions that belong to the darkness and put on the weapons of light. Let's behave appropriately as people who live in the day, not partying and getting drunk, not sleeping around and obscene behavior, not in fighting and obsession. Instead, dress yourself with the Lord Jesus Christ and don't plan to indulge your selfish desires. Good thing that reading was after Thanksgiving. Our reading from the Gospel of Matthew. Nobody knows when that day or hour will come, not the heavenly angels and not the Son. Only the Father knows. As it was in the time of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the human one. In those days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and given in marriage until the day Noah entered the ark. They didn't know what was happening until the flood came and swept them all away. The coming of the human one will be like that. At time there will be two men in the field, one will be taken and the other left. Two women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and the other left. Therefore, stay alert. You don't know what day the Lord is coming. But you understand that if the head of the house knew what time the thief would come, he would keep alert and wouldn't allow the thief to break into his house. Therefore, you also should be prepared, because the human one will come at a time you don't know. This is the word of God for us this day, challenging as it is. Throughout this season of Advent, we'll be spending time truly reflecting the sacred. I give thanks to Michelle and Bree, who came, and Bess, who came on, and Maggie helped sort of set the stage. And I'm not sure, maybe more mirrors will show up. Who's got some they can loan me? We see so many mirrors, maybe more candles will show up. We're not sure yet. Maybe lights will come, ornaments will come, more and more will come to help us remember and reflect the sacred throughout this time of year. And if you had received an email yesterday, I believe it was, that went out, I pre-scheduled it, so who knows which day it went, for Advent devotions. And I encourage you to find a mirror, to find either a mirror that you can put down off the wall as a table and put your candles on it, or to put it like this, where the candles are near and reflect the light, just to remind us of that reflective nature of God throughout the season. A little different, perhaps, than ways you might have set an Advent candle at home. But I received a reflection of hope many years ago now. It was given to me on my last day of ministry in the church I served in Illinois as a Christian educator. There were literally hundreds of children and volunteers who filed past me at the gymnasium door on that day. I will remember the hugs forever. But she was the last one in line, lingering in the space, waiting till everyone else was gone. As she approached me, I thought about our relationship over the years, and we had a relationship, because there were many situations throughout the years that I knew this girl that were cause for concern, cause for calls to the parents, cause for wonder. Is she okay? She had that general sullen attitude that early teens have, that, well, you know it, right? And she was rather standoffish in her demeanor. And there were several incidences, as I said, that caused me to have concern. Some of them were when we did group projects. In sixth grade, there seemed to be an unwritten understanding between herself and all the other girls that she would not participate in their group. Either she didn't want to or she wasn't welcome. I was never quite sure. She sat apart in worship, arms crossed, with that manner of setting her face that only pre-adolescents know to do. I'm really not paying attention. With a roll of the eyes, she would sit there. But now she was at the end of the line. I don't remember if she said anything to me. I don't remember if I said anything to her. But you know me well enough to know that I gave her a hug. And when I did, she slipped something into my hand, just a scrap of paper. I remember the dress I was wearing that day. It had big pockets. That's always helpful for a Christian educator to have big pockets. I slipped that piece of paper unread into my pocket, gave her a hug, and proceeded down the hall to the then called Mayflower Room. It was a Congregational United Church of Christ, for a reception and fellowship. Later in that day, with a heart full of blessing and joy, all obligations done for the day, I took the paper from my pocket. It had a short sentence. It simply read, "You are the light at the end of my tunnel. I don't know what I'll do when you're gone." I sat there absolutely and completely dumbfounded. Of all the girls, I thought, of all the kids, of all the ones, why she? Why her? How could this be her note? I didn't think she heard a word I said. I don't think she enjoyed any experience she had. And I don't think she came out for any reason other than the family obligation of you came to Sunday school every Sunday. But there it was, in my hand. Hope reflected, the love of Christ refracted through the heart of a young girl. I was truly, truly blessed. And in that moment, my eyes and heart were open to possibilities unimagined just that morning. Hope in the form of a light of guidance, in the form of worship that all the children did together, in the form of welcome, in the form of simply knowing and saying her name. I have to be honest that in my week-to-week encounters with her, I could never have imagined that hope would be so simply given from me to her and her to me. Waves of blessing from that moment have held us in relationship for 25 years. A number of years ago, I was in the Denver area. She lives now in Colorado, and she saw that I was going there, Facebook, you know. And she found me out. And we met for lunch. I met her sons, I met her wife, we embraced. It was amazing. Hope was not only reflected in that little note, hope was reflected in a hug. Hope has been reflected in a relationship. I did some embroidery one time and posted, I'm thinking a piece of embroidery I did that was the size of a quarter, and posted it up on Facebook. She goes, "Oh, I want that." I said, she goes, "I want you to make me a pillow." And it's like, excuse me, it's the size of a quarter. We talking about a sachet? I could do a sachet. She goes, "No, I'll send you the pillow." So she took the pillow filling out and she sent me the pillow, blue velvet. Those of you who embroider know that velvet is not necessarily the first material you work with, but there it was, blue velvet, a lumbar pillow, one of those little round oblong pillows. And she wanted a thistle on it. She was Scottish. That was the thing she saw. I can't fill up a lumbar pillow with a thistle. Just isn't going to happen. So I prayed. And I remembered her. And I remembered her story. And I remember the embrace, both on that day long ago and the day in Denver. And I started sewing. I made the thistle using stitches I've never used before. And then I grounded it with ground, lots of ground on a lumbar pillow. She has 2 sons who are amazing. And so on one end, I put a heather bush. A heather bush in Scottish lore is a sign of abundance. And there it was, abundant. Probably 150 to 300, I don't know how many, countless French knots. Those of you who sew, Elaine, you're going, oh, that's a lot of knots. A lot of knots. And in those knots, I sewed 2 bumblebees. And on that thistle, I sewed above it a monarch butterfly. This young lady is very regal, queen in every way, tiara included. So a monarch was the only kind of butterfly she deserved. And then on the ground, there was a snail, just simple, layers and layers of colors connected to make the presence of her wife, who keeps her steady and stable when she has her flights of fancy. I was surprised when I got done, because all I had planned was a thistle, and all I had started with was something the size of a quarter, and now I had a full lumbar pillow that I sent back to her. Her boys now have it 1 week in Bennett's room and 1 week in his brother's room. And at night, they trace the images that are embroidered there and ask their mom the story. She put a little piece of paper in my pocket. And her sons know the reflective light of God. I know and I imagine you've had stories like this. When you think about it, they're there. When you have received hope along the way, a word of encouragement, a word of praise, a word where someone spoke your name with gratitude, just because you are. Hope is a way of being in the morning, in the world that the morning scriptures point us to. Say, be ready. Be ready. We don't know when things are going to happen, and they're going to happen in unexpected ways. We're not to wait for the special moment, but freely share the light and love of God in the world. This season, we'll be spending time to think about how that sacred has been reflected in our lives, and how we can be a reflection of God's love, and how in that combination of giving and receiving, of reflecting and seeing, we can expand our hearts. We can expand the possibility that we'll see the stars even in the daylight. They won't only be on Audrey's dress. They'll be in each person you see. Each person you encounter, you can have the possibility of a moment, a glimpse, a flash, a flicker of the divine. We're to be awe-filled. Awe-filled, not awful, but awe-filled. And when we are, we will surely see the light of Christ in all we do. Because how we do anything is how we do everything. How we do anything is how we do everything. How we do our day-to-day matters, because if we're willing to see the divine in the world all around us every day, not just on Sunday, I'm glad you're here, both in person and virtually, but to see the divine every day on that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every single day. And that means when you're in line, and the person in front of you is making a return. And then they have 17 questions about the product that they are buying, and they want to make sure that they've got their discount applied, right? Oh, did you do that in time so you don't have to void out the thing? And then, is there an extended warranty on this? I really would like to know. And there you are. Purchase in hand, perhaps a child by your side. How you do anything is how you do everything. That's why we have prayer confession, Maggie says. So there in that line, behind that person, you get to see the glimpse of the divine. In the deep breaths you take, in the words you say to the child, yours or someone else's, who begin to fidget and have the unfathomable need. I absolutely have to have the Snicker bar. It's right there. Why do they put the candy at eye level and hand level of children? Why? Give you a moment to glimpse the divine? No, and if your child is from this church, they'll say, but mom, dad, grandma, auntie, the word of the Lord is sweet upon my tongue. Shouldn't I have candy? How you do anything is how you do everything. We don't know the time or place or the way the divine will come into our lives. What if it's when you're standing in line? What if? What if it happens this month when all things are to be merry and bright? You know that for many of us, this is the first season where it is furthest from the most wonderful time of the year. How can we see the sacred and the divine presence of Christ's light when our lives seem the darkest? When in the season of short days and long nights, the pain of relationships that have not worked, that are unreconcilable, that are still painful, are juxtaposed to the happy families on commercial. Yes, your child will come home and make you Folgers coffee. Not in my life. There's a greeting card and a Christmas letter and a Hallmark movie, and you name it, everybody's happy, aren't they? How do we see and be the light in times when we recognize that loss and heartache dance in the shadows of winter? In those moments, we remember that we're a Christian community. The letter of Paul to the Roman community, the book of Matthew written to a community, reminds us that we need others to shine the light of Christ's hope for us when our light is too dim. The words of acknowledgement, the creation of space in our lives for the visits or the note to those who you feel obliged to be in relationship at Christmas. Do you have those people in your life? I must see so-and-so at Christmas. We have to plan the 18,000 things all in the last week of December to fit them all in. What happens on July 18th? It's somebody's birthday. If it's, yeah, we have a lot of birthdays in July. So it could be July, it could be June 21st, whatever day it is. There are 364 other days of the year that people still need a note, a card, a call. Let's get together for dinner. I'll make your favorite whatever. That's how you show and shine the light of Christ. Not just in a minute, not just in a season, but how you do everything. Anything is how you do everything. Seek always just a little hope, just a little sparkle of light, just enough to hold you, just enough to guide you, just enough to keep you in those moments of darkness. My prayer that is that in the darkness that does enter our lives, you and I, the kids are out of the room, right? And some of them know it already too. The darkness will come for a day or a time or a season or more. It's my prayer that we can be and that we can see just enough light to enter into the spaciousness of divine love. This Advent season, with all the worldly expectations and emotions, is a time to settle down, to settle into the story of love coming and being in the world. It invites us to change the cadence of your life so that we remember daily the purpose of this season, to be ready, to prepare our hearts, to be awakened and open to the possibilities of wonder and miracle. It's a season when we seek the living light, the presence of Christ in the world. And it's a time this year that will take time to refocus our vision, and instead of sharpening it, blurring it, relaxing the division between sacred and secular, relaxing the division between all of the things in the world to all of creation. In some ways, I love the James Webb Space Telescope. It's showing us things we've never seen before, but it makes all those stars so sharp. I like the blurredness sometimes. That there is no space between us and eternity. So in this season, live in the spaciousness of divine love and see the love reflected in everything and everyone. Take time to remember the ways God's love has been shared with you and the ways you have tried to share it with others. I was blessed by Meredith. She gave me that gift. I invite you to be that blessing as well. Is there someone in your life who shared the light of hope with you? I pray there is. I trust there is, because you're here. I invite you to, maybe this afternoon before the Packers game, or maybe during it when they're going to do better today. They're going to do better today, right? Right, Connie, we're good, we're good. They're going to do better today. But I invite you truly to, as the sun sets, as the lights get darker in your home, to light a candle, maybe just one. Take out a sheet of paper, and it can be a scrap, and write a note to someone who showed up, who said your name, who gave you hope, who was light in your darkness. Let's write him a note. You might be able to send it. You might not. But the writing is an intentional prayer. And if you have set a space in your home for an Advent candle and mirrors, just set that note there. You can seal it in an envelope. No one has to read it. If young ones in your midst, invite them to write a note to someone. Maybe you'll send it, maybe you won't. But I invite you to live in the spaciousness of divine love, to share and reflect the love and hope of this Christmas season, of this Advent season, of this time of preparation, time of opening, time of seeing again the light and love, the difference one candle can make. Amen. Our hymn of response, we can rise in body or spirit, if you guys can see, is "Come, O long expected Jesus." Let us rise in body or spirit this morning.